So, good evening from my side. My name is Christoph Bongard. I'm the head of communications and policy team at Forum Civil Peace Service based in Cologne, and I warmly welcome you to our online talk this evening, which we gave the title Kosovo-Serbia Tensions, Understanding Conflicts and Prospects for Peace. And I'm very, very happy to discuss about this topic with my dear colleagues from Belgrade and Pristina, Nataša, Govedarica, and Nehari, Sharri, who has been, I don't know how many years, I guess in some cases more than 20, right, Nehari, have been engaged in peace work in the region. So we have two really long-standing people very familiar with peace work in Kosovo, Serbia, and the Western Balkans. Good to have you here with me tonight.
Thank you very much for your invitation and this opportunity.
Thanks, Christoph.
So I've thanked already you, and I also have to thank our sponsors who sponsor a series of online discussions we are holding, which is Engagement Global, financed by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, and the Foundation for Environment and Development in North Rhine-Westphalia. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what is our topic for today? I mean, I tried to sketch it in the invitation we sent to you and you received by email. Being based in Cologne and following what is happening in the Balkans from Cologne in German or international media, we read a lot about tensions between Serbia and Kosovo, especially in the north of Kosovo, with barricades in the streets in the northern part of the republic. The Serbian president Aleksandar Vučić, who said he deployed his troops close to the border to Kosovo, and a series of other incidents, and also a high attention to the conflict in EU capitals, in Brussels, with diplomats traveling to the regions and pushing for agreements. But to be honest, from my personal perspective, it's really hard to really understand what's the course of events and what is behind the conflicts. And this was the reason why I asked Nehari and Nataša to have a chat, actually, and just not to have it just among the three of us, but with a couple of guests. And I'm happy that you're with us here to really take a look of what happened, what are the drivers behind those tensions, but also not only to stay like to the political level, but to really see how does it affect your work? What are the issues you work on regarding dialogue and peace, and how are you looking ahead in these situations? So we are curious to discuss these questions with you tonight, and I would start actually with you, Nehari, and I would ask you again, maybe from your perspective and how you perceived it, to explain, let's say, to us the series of events, tensions, escalations, whatever you call and frame it within the last month regarding relations between Serbia and Kosovo.
Okay, thanks, Christoph. Well, I do have to go a bit into the history. I won't go back several centuries, but I will have to go to explain the license plates or the issue, because I did have several questions from people that I know outside of Kosovo, and the questions were very direct, like about the license plates. But to be honest, this is not only, so it is not technical about license plates. It's much broader and deeper. But even if we discuss about license plates, I think it's not so simple. So I did prepare a short chronology only related to documents and license plates, hoping that the people that are here tonight with us will better understand what led to the situation in December that we had. So we will go back to 99 actually, just to explain. that after the end of the conflict in 1999 in Kosovo, you might know that we have UNMIK administration and United Nations mission in Kosovo, and they did issue personal documents. So we did receive UNMIK IDs, driving licenses, and passports, as well as license plates. We do refer to those license plates as KS license plates. It was 3 numbers, KS, 3 numbers. So this was immediately after 99. However, traveling to or through Serbia, it was not possible. Because you could do this only with Yugoslav documents, so old documents, or somebody was getting new documents, Serbian documents at that time in Serbia, and old license plates. So the ones that we had before, which was, for example, I'm from Prizren, that would be PZ, so 2 letters from a town. At that time, it was 3 numbers and then 2 numbers again. So you could enter in Serbia only with these license plates and Yugoslav documents, not KS license plates, not Kosovo documents. After independence of Kosovo, Kosovo declaring independence, Kosovo institutions started issuing personal documents with Kosovo symbols in it, as well as issuing new license plates. We do refer to them as RKS license plates, which means it's 2 numbers, then it's RKS, I mean 2 numbers, 3 numbers, and 2 letters. At the beginning, they have RKS written in it. So
RKS is Republic of Kosovo.
Republic of Kosovo, yeah.
Okay.
This is when Serbia changed the rule, and besides accepting old Yugoslav documents and license plates, they said that they would also accept UNMIK documents. So the ones that were before Kosovo started to issue their own documents and license plates. So UNMIK documents and license plates were accepted. However, when you would enter in Serbia, you would have to, at the border, remove your license plates, the KS license plates, buy temporary Serbian license plates, which were out of paper, put them there, and then enter in Serbia or drive through Serbia. Then we have the Brussels negotiation process for normalizing relations, the so-called process, started between Kosovo and Serbia, initially with technical agreements. And one of them, for example, in 2011 was freedom of movement. And part of this agreement was that ID cards of each party can be used to cross the borders, but they will be accompanied with an A4 paper, which was entry-exit paper. So, for example, when I would enter in Serbia, I would have to give my ID card. I would receive this A4 paper at the Serbian officials there, and then enter Serbia. And with the same paper, you would also exit Serbia. So only ID cards, no passports were allowed to be shown there. And so this was the agreement for both sides that they could issue these papers. This was introduced immediately by the Serbian side, whereas Kosovo, I don't know, decided not to introduce that to Serbian ID holders. Then we had also Kosovo agreeing to extend the validity of UNMIK license plates. So although Kosovo started issuing the new license plates, they agreed to extend the validity of the old license plates. And this agreement was valid for 5 years. And then both parties agreed to review it after 5 years. So this happened then in 2016. So this agreement was reviewed. And then the following was agreed that for personal documents, it remains as agreed before. So when you enter in one border and when you exit, you would get these A4 papers. which was, as I said before, introduced by Serbia, but still in 2016, still not introduced by Kosovo for Serbian ID holders. Whereas for license plates, both parties agreed to, now interesting part, to cover license plates with 2 white stickers. So you could enter in Serbia with old Yugoslav license plates or new Serbian license plates, with UNMIC license plates, the so-called KS license plates. You could buy also temporary license plates. If you had RKS license plates, then you would be given 2 stickers at the border, size like this, white stickers, and then you would close the part where it is written RKS, so Republic of Kosovo, and you would close the other part where there is a, is it called coat of arms or the emblem of Kosovo. So you would close both of them, you would have just the numbers and letters, and you could enter. Again, this was implemented immediately by Serbia, whereas Kosovo, I don't know, again, decided for some reasons not to implement it, not to introduce it for Serb license plates. And Kosovo,
just for my understanding, so Serbians could enter Kosovo, but they did not have to change license plates.
Yeah,
okay.
Neither they would get the paper, nothing at the border or so.
Okay.
And Kosovo also agreed to extend again the validity of old UNMIC license plates for another 5 years. So they also agreed that Serb citizens, Kosovo Serb citizens, they could re-register their cars in either KS or RKS, and they would be released from duties and fees for registration and so on. So in order to help citizens to start registering slowly, I guess, cars with Kosovo license plates. And then we arrive in June June last year, 2022, when 5 years have passed, and Kosovo government decided to introduce reciprocity. Well, actually, they called it reciprocity, but basically, if you go into these agreements, they were just implementing the agreement that was signed back in 2011 and then again in 2016. So they said that Serb personal document holders would be issued this paper also from Kosovo border, Kosovo institutions, when they cross the border, and Serbian license plates would have the 2 stickers entering, closing the Serb and the coat of arms, the symbol. And they also gave deadline to Kosovo Serbs to re-register or to transfer their license plates to RKS license plates. This immediately, I'm talking about now last year, end of June, so in July and August. And they had to do that until August. They wanted to start from August. So then we had protests, roadblocks, intervention of international community and so on. And the Kosovo government decided to postpone the implementation until September last year. And in meantime, there was a Brussels meeting, and where Prime Minister Kurti and President Vučić met, and they agreed for the documents. So then they agreed that they are going to remove this A4 papers from both sides. So none of the sides is going to issue the A4 papers, but they could not agree for license plates yet, which made Kosovo government to introduce this new period, which was in 3 phases. The first phase was that police, so drivers with Kosovo with Serbia license plates, but who are residents of Kosovo, would be notified by police at the beginning for some months. Then there would be a period when they would be fined 150 euros. And then there would be a period when they have to re-register, and this was thought to be April 2023 now. There was again intervention of international community asking for longer postponement. They were talking about 10 months, but Kosovo did not agree to postpone this anymore. So we came to a situation that the date started when police had to notify Kosovo Serb citizens who had Serbia license plates to notify that they have to start re-registering their cars and so on. The director of police in North Kosovo, Serb Kosovar, Nenad Đurić, he said that he is not going to implement this decision of the government, which resulted in releasing him from the duty. Then afterwards, we had all these issues that were following that I guess most of you then. So then we had all Serb policemen resigning. We had members of parliament, Serb members of parliament resigning, minister resigning, judges, mayors of 4 municipalities, Serb municipalities in North Kosovo also resigning, and Serbs in other Kosovo institutions. We had protests in North, which meant that basically the borders, 2 borders in North were without police. So Kosovo decided to send policemen at the border crossings in North. And this was not welcomed because supposedly there is an agreement that in North there will be only Serb policemen and not special forces and non-Serb policemen and so on. At the same time, President of Kosovo, according to the law, she had to announce elections in North. The offices of, I'm now passing a bit faster, going through it a bit faster. Then offices of Central Election Commission in North, they were destroyed a bit, and shock bombs were thrown, and some more explosions were heard in North. 1 person was arrested, which led to further 1 person, when I say it's a Kosovo Serb, that was arrested, which led to further protests and roadblocks, and there we were. So then we had 2 border crossings blocked from the Kosovo side, 1 border crossing also, the other border crossing from the Serbian side being blocked also. President Vučić talking about increasing the readiness of army and so on, but then for that maybe I would pass to Nataša that she could also tell from that perspective how it was.
Thank you, Nehari. To this point, I think what I learned from your explanation is really the complexity of like what you call a technical dialogue, but also having in mind the broader political context and background that is like behind this.
I hope this was not confusing.
Well, the situation is not simple. Yeah, but Nataša, he passed on to you.
I'm very grateful to my colleague Nehari for his detailed reminder or overview on this topic. And thanks to being very insightful, I would add just a couple of points. Namely, it's clear that the trigger of the recent tension is very technical. And in my humble view, very solvable. And among many issues negotiated so far, I would not expect that something technical and solvable as license plates could raise such tensions. So from this we learn again that it's not about the trigger, but about deep-rooted causes. And I'm sure that we'll have time to elaborate more on these later on, or that our well-informed audience understands that this is just a peak of the deep-rooted and unfortunately long-lasting conflict that we could call frozen in this moment. So from my side, I just want to add that I'm not pretending that I'm an expert on this topic, nor that I give you the comprehensive answers to the difficult questions that Christoph has prepared for us. My aim here is just to share with you a practitioner's view on this and help you not only understand better, but also sense better what's going on in this region at the moment. When Nehari mentioned one of the phases in documents and license plates story, he mentioned that at some point it was concluded that Kosovo citizens can come to Serbia after being officially invited, after providing official reasons to enter Serbia, leaving their documents and receiving a very simple A4 paper. I would just recall all of us who do remember that Serbia at some point expelled their citizens of Albanian ethnic background from Kosovo, also tearing apart their documents. So you can imagine that this technical issue of leaving out your documentation, your ID at the border with a country where you don't have your embassy or anything to support you in any case, entering it without documents must have been extremely unpleasant and challenging for our neighbors holding Kosovo documents. And I'm mentioning this particular detail to show that technical issues are never that technical. And they are really touching upon very deep and extremely painful memories. So not only that you are entering a territory of your enemy, but you are entering it without a simple protection that every person holds very close to herself, himself, whenever you enter a foreign country. This was not possible. Not to mention that once when you show that nothing of a paper, for example, in a hotel where you have to spend a night in Belgrade or wherever in Serbia, you could be humiliated because you are not holding a proper document and you have nothing else to show. To my mind, this is also a very significant detail which shows a lack of willingness to kind of overcome a difficult legacy of a conflict and treat each other with respect. Treat each other in a very basic standards of human rights, or should I say neighborly relations. Next to this, I would also like to mention that I personally experienced many of these phases which were more favorable for the travelers coming from Serbia to Kosovo. However, last time when we were offered those white stickers to cover the heraldic symbol of Serbia on the license plates, it's really, if I was smiling while Nehari was explaining this, it is because you feel like this can't be really, no, this can't be a result of years-long negotiation, that you, like a child, stick something white on your license plate and then everything is fine. So this also shows that it is very easy to find solution if you want to find one. If you don't find, if you don't want to find one or once, then you can prolong this process endlessly for many different reasons. And in the end, I will stop here, but would like to say that this so-called highest combat alert that was raised by President Vučić recently as his response by Serbian army to the crisis, to the current crisis allegedly provoked by the license plates issue, was something very severe, and from the citizens' point of view, extremely disturbing, because unfortunately we are quite used to different crises, and it's a very legit question from your beginning, Christoph. Why is different now? And being kind of accustomed to manipulation with our fear and concerns, we have been extremely disturbed by the announcement of the highest combat alert of a Serbian army, because then, you know, it's not that you are just frightened that war might continue. You are one step away from it in military terms. Mm-hmm. So this is additional detail which was very different, I would say, to a certain measure unusual, although mentioned many times in various threats for the domestic public, and also in various statements of the President Vučić. But as I said, was very alarming from my point of view, and many fellow citizens shared that view, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Nataša. There's a question in the chat, I think, that fits very well in at this moment. I will read it out for you, and allows us maybe to look at the issue from another perspective. It is, what was the role of the media in Kosovo and Serbia, and have media possibly fueled the situation to escalate it to this level? And I would add to that, maybe, what narratives have been used to depict the situation in media, but also maybe by politicians? Maybe starting again with you, Nehari.
Okay. Well, media, of course, but then also it depends, because even within the same country, in Kosovo, you have how to say the role of media in escalating or de-escalating the situation. But then what is more important is also how the same story is told from two sides. So how it is told in Kosovo and how it is told in Serbia. I mean, this can go not only for the recent event, but it can go also even to before, with the agreements. Like, there was an agreement in Brussels, it was differently announced in Serbia, it was differently announced in Kosovo. And what we were lacking was, I don't know, someone just coming maybe from you and saying, okay, no, this is what you have agreed, you know, because they were along this ambiguity, and they were along this sell it, pack it however you want to your own citizens, whatever is easier for you, which actually did not help the situation. With the recent events, media definitely was playing a role, although I would say now, maybe for the Kosovo side, they were a bit more cautious, because media was very much blamed for the events that we had in Kosovo in 2004, where actually the escalation, it's not me, it's the report saying that it's also media that contributed a lot to the escalation of the events in 2004. So I believe that since then the media is a bit more cautious in Kosovo, and trying
for those who don't know, can you just add in 2 sentences about the escalations in 2004?
2 sentences? that would be very difficult. In 2004, we had an event where 2 Albanian children drowned again in north, and the story behind that was, again, it depends which side do you read or do you listen. So the one story was that those kids were because one of them survived. Two of them drowned in the river, and one of them survived. And the story is that they were chased by Serbs with dogs, and in order to save themselves, they were really kids. They jumped in the water, and two of them could not swim out, so drowned, and one of them did. And so this is one story. The other story, if you read the other side, is that they were actually swimming, and they drowned, and then the one that survived was either afraid, or I don't know for what reason, told the story that they were chased by Serbs and so on. Anyway, the outcome was that protests started in the north, which ended up with shootings, and then which ended up with also burning of mainly only Serb properties and churches in the rest of Kosovo, so south of Ibar.
Thanks.
But again, so it's it depends which side do you read. It's always, there is never a simple and the truth or one version of a story in Kosovo.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, just to make everybody follow the discussion. But you did not finish about the role of the. So you said, and that's your message, that in this case, media in Kosovo were more cautious.
I found them more cautious, I would say. Although whatever they were reporting, it also depends on how much do you want to be disturbed, because you could be disturbed also with, and you could always find things in between the lines. But I would say that I found media in general being a bit more cautious and trying not to fuel the situation even more.
Nataša, how about?
Which I cannot say, because if I was reading the other side, because I usually read both sides, then if I was reading, for example, the other side, and if I'm reading for one certain event, two stories, I even start to doubt, like, so what really happened? So it's always this dilemma, which I don't find it always bad. It's not always bad. It just triggers this critical thinking, I would say. Sorry, Nataša.
No worries. Again, this will be very short. When it comes to reporting and the media role in this situation, it just continues current state of affairs when it comes to Serbian media. We have very tiny islands of independent media, in my view, reporting way more professionally and way more objectively on whatever topic it is, including also Kosovo-Serbia relations. And you have the state-controlled media very much widespread in Serbia, which practically is kind of a speaking mechanism of a President Vučić. So they would their interpretations would be along lines that he would like to give, he would give, and they would give him enormously long time slots for his speeches, which is his tradition and his custom. He had I don't know, thousands of the most difficult days in his career. One of them also recently, when he addressed Serbian public for almost an hour, describing nothing practically. So in that sense, I wouldn't say that media played a significant role, or more significant or more different role than usually. This is a very generalizing statement, but for the cause of answering the question, I think it could serve.
And if I may add here only, so when we are talking about media now, we were referring to media houses, media outlet, but we did not address, and to say like which from the media was playing a more important role was the social media, and in this case, private accounts of people, you know, spreading news and spreading disinformation, fake news, and so on. And well, we are known, I think, in this region, Kosovo, Serbia, and the rest for theories of conspiracies and so on. So, social media, that's where these things are blown up.
Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot for this remark, because social media, Twitter, for example, are very much used these days also for the statements of the officials directly involved in the process of negotiating, discussing, you name it, Kosovo-Serbia relations. So sometimes you really rely upon these media and traditional media just citing those statements. So this is a very valuable source for us. And then in some other cases, it's a playground for the fake news, and very difficult to differentiate what is what, especially if you live in a state of direct threat or a constant fear.
Mm. Thanks. Maybe we can back to that later on. Maybe there's not just the negative role of social media, but maybe
definitely, yeah,
you're also here and there can use it in a positive way. We did not speak about that before. Maybe just one last question to help us understand the situation at the moment is what I read in media is that there have been more or less similar incident tensions. You Nehari mentioned 2004, but also in the last years, more or less similar. But what I read is that this time it seems more serious. There were more worries about an escalation, and I wonder how you perceived it and people you speak with, and what makes it the atmosphere or the situation maybe different than in the past years, if that is so.
But before that, can I, because we somehow left it, so this is what happened, and we did not tell that actually the barricades are removed now. So
sorry.
How it was solved?
What is the situation at the moment? Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe just that, and then Nataša, you can continue to answer this question and then I will jump. So what we did see with this raise of tensions is even more intense involvement of international community, mainly US and EU, of course. And from EU, then we have also a separate role or representatives of Germany, France, and Italy. And this ended up with an agreement that Kosovo is not going to introduce this new license plates now, as they were planning to do so, with this fining and then asking to re-register the cars. And Serbia is not going to issue new license plates, new Serbian license plates to Kosovo citizens, Kosovo Serb citizens, for the new ones. However, now again, back from the media, I'm not sure if this is true. There were reports that several cars were returned at the border, one of the borders in north, because they did have Kosovo license plates, but new ones. Serbia license plates, but new ones. Then you have, I don't know, Serbia side saying that, well, we did not say that we are not going to reissue something. So, I mean, what is important is that the situation has de-escalated, but again, it's not that it's solved. So again, there are these small misinterpretations of the agreement, let's put it this way. But now at least it's calm for the moment, as it can be. Sorry, and now maybe Nataša, you can start.
This is exactly coming to the point of your question. Why something escalates so severely, and how come that it de-escalates without really being solved? So again, this is more of a common wisdom. It seems to me that this time geopolitical situation has a strong influence on the need to somehow finally wrap up this endless process of Kosovo-Serbia dialogue. It seems. By saying this, I'm afraid that international community, whatever it means, is very much preoccupied with Russian-Ukrainian war, and that there is an evident effort to kind of put one of the issues away from the agenda, being that Kosovo-Serbia issue. And in addition to this, I would also say that the fact that Serbia is playing this neutral role, actually, that Serbia is closer to Russia than any other decent state in Europe, is really changed the President Vučić position in the international community, especially in relations with German official representatives, I would say. So for a very long while, he was a favorite person, a stronghold of stability in the Western Balkans for your former chancellor. And this is not the case any longer. Once when you have Serbia, which is not clearly taking the side of the rest of the Europe, rest of the EU, then you can't favorize the leader of the country any longer. And in my view, this gives opportunity, and this gives a credit to a stronger pressure to President Vučić to accept Franco-German proposition and to somehow I can't say finalize, because even if this document is signed tomorrow, the process of acknowledging it through the official channels of both Serbia and Kosovo would take additional 5 to 10 years at least, you know. But kind of make a really significant step and turn over in the negotiation process. I think the time is now, and the situation is ripe. Plus, the economic pressure to Serbia is, in my view, finally working. And here I would mention rumors from well-informed rumors saying that it's not ultimatum for Serbia, it's ultimatum for President Vučić. It is the trade-off if he stays in power, which can be done if he signs, and that's why we keep listening that he's not going to be the one who signs the plan, who signs the proposal, but it needs to be Serbian Prime Minister supported by Serbian government. The whole trade-off could make sure that Vučić stays in power for additional 5 to 10 years, and this would keep his supporters with economic power and any other kind of power in this country safe, you know, and covered in a way. So, in my view, the climate internationally, especially in European framework, is changing, and that's what makes these tensions and the efforts more intense than usually, because it's a very fair remark that we have seen very similar triggers, or even more severe ones, or more difficult issues that we managed to solve somehow like energy, for example. So I guess the main reason why the situation is different this time lies somewhere in geopolitical circumstances, and also this green card to pressure Vučić harder than ever is helping a lot, I believe.
Thank you.
But I hope it brings us closer to the compromise and agreement.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Nataša. And I like very much how you combine like the nitty-gritty technical issues and put them now in a broader context. That's really helpful to understand. Maybe before we move to the next topic, is there anything you can add from a Kosovo perspective to that, Nehari?
Yeah, just for this, because we did have similar incidents, as we mentioned. I mean, only last year we had 2, if not more. So more or less regularly we had incidents. But why this time was more serious, or now it's more serious? As Nataša mentioned, I mean, we cannot neglect the role of and the influence of the war in Ukraine. Also in our region, because it was, again, it's not us saying, but it's different reports and analysts saying that there might be an attempt to diversify or not to disorient the focus from Ukraine to, for example, to the Balkans. So to start new small conflict somewhere, so that the focus, the main, all eyes is not in Ukraine, but also to spread it around. And we did have some small either rumors or some reports, or even photos. For example, we had in Pristina protest on supporting Ukraine. And I think it was the same day there was a protest in North Mitrovica supporting Russia. So, and then there were cars and signs like sprayed Z, the infamous Z, also in North Mitrovica, and some other symbols. Then there is also the opening of, I don't know how it is called, the friendship, something, the Wagner group. The again infamous Wagner group in Serbia, and then when we had these tensions, or beginning of the tensions, there was some reports about I don't know, some masked people and so on in North. So I think that now it's a bit more delicate, it's a bit more serious, because I think also international community sees that there is. So it's not only a rumor that Russia might try to start something somewhere else, but I think there is a real danger of that. Again, not only me saying, but the report. So I think that's why we see this time more serious and strict and more focused involvement of international community. Than the years before. Now they are talking about some deadlines. They are talking about concrete steps and so on. So now it's a bit more different than the previous years. That's what I believe it makes so.
Thank you. So I learned a lot until this point, but I'm really curious, man. We spend a lot of time looking now at, let's say, like the high-level political dialogue and the implications and the situation. And what you actually day-to-day work on is let's say, a lot the dialogue between societies, which is as well important if you talk about, yeah, any perspective for peace, for solutions, and so on. And I would ask you, what are the issues, the topics you work on with your projects that you find important as well, which maybe don't receive as much attention as the issues we have been talking about now for the first hour. Maybe you can give us some examples and insights about your work. Nataša, you would like to start?
Gladly. Obviously, I feel more comfortable now coming back to our field of work, our direct field of work. So the fact is that in forumZFD Belgrade, which is one of 4 offices in this region, we are in a way the youngest with the program curricula. And some 9 years ago, when I started drafting what would be the core activities and approaches, I gladly understood that in Serbia we still have a very strong civil society organizations, human rights organizations, deeply committed to the Serbia-Kosovo issues, legacy of the war, support for the victims, support to the war crimes proceedings, documenting and disclosing role of Serbian official Serbian military, paramilitary police members in relation to the war. So we had this strong basis of fact-finding missions, of documenting missions, of organizations. Primarily, I'm talking about Humanitarian Law Center with offices in Belgrade and in Kosovo, established by Nataša, a prominent activist from this region, and other organizations around in this circle, like the Youth Initiative for Human Rights, Helsinki Committee, and the others. And my understanding was that they did enormously important work, enormously important task, finding the facts and acknowledging them. But it seemed to me that these important messages are having enormous obstacles to reach general audience, which is why we started working with media, with artists, with educators, to make sure that these messages are somehow formulated and disseminated in such a way that will be perceived less threatening for the domestic audience. So we work a lot with independent media, what is left out of it in Serbia. We work with a group of artists and individual artists focusing very much on so-called engaged approaches of the art, being that documentary photography or archival research is presented in the contemporary art techniques, and also organizing various discussions around exhibitions, theater performances, film screenings, festivals as well. So this is something that we continuously insist upon in a Serbian framework. So I would just mention one of dear projects where we are co-founders and the partners. It's a festival called Mirdita Dobar Dan, good afternoon in Serbian and in Albanian, which was established back in 2014 to present social and cultural scene of Kosovo to Belgrade and to Serbian audience. This festival has survived till this day. Our partners are Youth Initiative for Human Rights in Belgrade, Integra from Pristina, and numerous cultural workers, activists and artists who are coming to Belgrade to showcase their work, raising really important discussions by it, and also in several occasions and more we are attending to organize or to support a similar festival held in Pristina. We have to admit that Belgrade production of art and in general Serbian cultural products are better known to Kosovo than vice versa, which is why we have been so persistently insisting upon bringing people here. And also a very important aspect of this type of activities is that you are bringing something positive, something different to report about in media than usually, because when we spoke about media landscape in Serbia and in Kosovo, misfortunately, the main news coming from the neighboring country are bad news, you know, either attacks or problems or complications or typical hate speech messages. We wanted to show that there are brilliant photographers or painters or extremely interesting DJs, jazz musicians in Kosovo, and that cultural scene is extremely vivid and very interesting, like to the ordinary audience, not only to us who are into some kind of peace building or human rights activism as such. This kind of shows many of the tendencies that we have in our work, and I might finish here, and if there is more time, I can give you some fresh examples of the upcoming projects that might be very interesting also for the audience out of this region, because what we strongly believe is that language of art can communicate cross-border more successfully than academic work or many valuable production in different spheres. It also brings a human face, which is, in my view, also crucial to not only understand, but as I said, to kind of sense the atmosphere, the climate, and what we are living here.
Mm-hmm. Allow me to ask you one more question about it. I mean, we've been speaking about the tense climate between Kosovo and Serbia. You told us also about the way media cover it, especially in Serbia. That's what you said. So I can imagine that it's not easy to establish a festival like this and to showcase Albanian culture in Belgrade, and that it's not like welcomed by everybody. So can you like tell us
Not
a
at
bit
all. Yeah.
how you did manage to establish this festival, what kind of resistance you faced, and also, I mean, I assume you're planning it also for this year. So what are the prospects? Are you hesitant or are you optimistic? Yeah, regarding that.
Christoph, is if one would use a political and social climate as excuse not to do what we do, it would be very easy life, you know. But I think it's our duty to work despite these difficult circumstances. And when you mention difficulties, I have to say that among certain circles, communication lasted almost without interruption, even during the wartime. And after the war, you have civil society organizations, you have cultural workers, you have people who continued communication and cooperation, and I could list a few in various fields. So in this regard, we had strong counterparts on a Kosovo side, which made our life way easier. The quality of the production and the selection of what we bring also makes our life easier. And when it comes to the Serbian context, it really changed, and like at the beginning, you never know what creates more favorable or less favorable circumstances to hold Mirdita Festival, Mirdita Dobar Dan Festival, or any other Kosovo-related activity. Sometimes we would have problems at the border crossing. I remember the time when it was extremely difficult to bring participants from Kosovo due to the document situation that Nehari described so well. Another time we would have exhibition of a photojournalist from Kosovo documenting life in Kosovo. And when you are documenting life in Kosovo, sometimes you do document also protests in the street. Kosovo is famous after very strong and active citizenship, prone to go to the streets and voice out their concerns and requests. And there in these photos would be different slogans on a photo of a protest, like internal Kosovo-based protest. And Serbian police would not allow these two particular photos to get in with 22 others planning to be displayed within the festival. And then it's, it's a minor incident, but it is also a crucial question. Do you accept that Serbian border police directs what you display or not? Do you accept a reality in which you have to kind of sacrifice two innocent photos in order to bring the full bus of participants and different content to be showcased in Belgrade? It is really, again, as you said, nitty-gritty technical question, which comes to the substantial question of your work and your kind of independence and acceptance of reality in the same time. We would have a situation that late Minister of Culture from Vucic's government would open the festival.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Tasovac had opened the festival in his official capacity, and then we have shown the film Three Windows and a Hanging, treating the really difficult topic of wartime rape and survivors and their treatments in contemporary Kosovo. We would have police following our guests from every single venue to the hotel, or we would have guests who would have fun in the nightclubs of Serbia, enjoying their, visit. We would have right-wing hooligans being led by police to meet us face to face. We would have police protecting us in like 3 circles and having football supporters and very religious group protesting by singing sad songs about Kosovo. So this is our reality during this almost 10 years of organizing this festival or any other Kosovo-related or for Serbian audience unpleasant activity. As I said, it is extremely difficult to predict what will trigger different threats and different reactions. And it is also difficult to pretend what will be our reaction and how police will consider them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
This was a very long answer to your simple question. My apologies, Nehari. Grab the mic.
I'll keep it shorter.
Yeah, but it gives a really realistic insights in your day-to-day work and what it means. Thank you. And I assume that Nehari can add more insights from his work as well.
Yeah, But we do have also some more questions, right? So that just to illustrate,
I would like hear you and some of your projects, and then get back to the questions from the chat, right?
Yeah, okay. So about our work, as Nataša mentioned, Kosovo and Serbia are part of the Western Balkans program, where besides the two offices in our countries, we do have also offices in Bosnia and in North Macedonia. But we do all of us function as a regional program, and the focus of our program in the Western Balkans, the main topics that we are dealing with, it's dealing with the past and peace education. These are like the thematic fields that we are active in Kosovo. So maybe just to give a very short overview, within this program we do have projects where all 4 countries are cooperating in one project, having contributions from all 4 countries. We do have projects where only 2 countries are cooperating, like the one that Nataša was taking as an example. But we do have also country-specific projects tackling topics that are specific only for that particular country. When it comes to Kosovo, we do have, like our colleagues in the other offices, quite diverse interdisciplinary projects, I would say. Some of the projects, some of the topics that we are tackling, it's missing persons, and I can come back to this project afterwards. Then survivors of wartime sexual violence or raped women and men as well. Peace education, as I mentioned, so seeing for example, role of gender we have Holocaust, we have tackled also Holocaust in Kosovo. Conflict sensitive journalism, that was one of the questions about journalists. So what we do is also conduct trainings to journalists on conflict sensitive journalism, on misinformation, disinformation, fake news, so that they are able to also identify and the role of media in peace building. We have projects also with youth, tackling youth peace activism, bringing together Albanian, Serbian, Roma, and other ethnicities together, where through different activities and trainings, we tackle stereotypes, prejudices, and so on. And besides that, also have joint activities. And in our work, we do, we have research, publications, exhibitions. We just 2 days ago, together with our partner, opened one of the exhibitions, and we'll have another one next week, opening another exhibition. We do have a web platform which is coordinated regionally. So we try with these different projects to also contribute to documentation, as Nataša mentioned, and knowledge production.
Maybe you can dive deeper in just a bit in
dive,
one of the projects, like the missing persons issue.
Like, for example, the missing persons issue is that, well, this is, for example, one of the issues that was also discussed in the Brussels talks between Kosovo and Serbia, and maybe even one of the reasons why also these talks have been somehow slowed down. So currently we still have 1,602, if I'm not wrong, so around 1,600
well, according to my last data, but it's changing, slowly.
So still from the last conflict in Kosovo, we have around 1,600 people missing. And the thing is that, unfortunately, the missing persons issue is being used, or maybe even misused sometimes, by politicians only when it comes to certain deals or blamings to the other side, and they are always shown as numbers. So what we are trying, or what we have done with our project projects is we have documented stories of family members of the missing persons. So wanted to put names, faces, feelings in those numbers that politicians are using. We have so we have a story, and in that publication we have not only stories of Albanians but also of Serbs, which is with this we also want to highlight that, because you can hear also from politicians of Kosovo quite often mentioning missing persons and then referring to them as Albanians or Kosovars. And not all of them are Albanians, not all of them are Kosovars. So by this, we just want to show also that there are also other ethnicities, people from other ethnicities that are missing. And then we do cooperate, for example, with artists. We had an exhibition related to missing persons from the photos that we had in the publication and the stories. There was an exhibition. There is one which was supposed to be a short time, but now it ends up being there for years now at the hall of the Parliament of Kosovo. An installation with quotes from the book, and combined with keys hanging from the ceiling. And this is really at the hall. So the message was that I mean, we bring the issue to the people that have to discuss about that, so that politicians, every time that they enter and exit, they go through this. We had also with the same issue, so missing persons, and the publication that we had on the stories, we had created also radio dramas that were played in the radio. Then the same ones were also transferred into video dramas that was played in national TV. We are trying to not only have, I would say, not only have a publication and have a promotion and lobby, but also try to have a more holistic approach, more broader approach, so that we are reaching different levels and layers of society and raising awareness in those with them. So I would maybe just stop here to have some more minutes for other questions, or if you have any
Thank
questions.
you. I am sure that both of you, and it's just the two of you, and there are teams behind you, so that you have much more to tell. Maybe we can here and there refer in the chat later on where people get further information, because I know we have a few websites, a few even in the region where you can read more. I will now read out a few questions at the same time, and then regarding the time, and then ask you try to answer them as good as possible. The first one is, well, at the core, I think it's about, do you really see a perspective for both, for Kosovo and Serbia, to exist as separate independent states? So I think it refers especially to Kosovo. There is even the question, is a unification of Kosovo with Albania a realistic perspective? Also to, let's say, end the international protectorate that which is in this question, Kosovo till today in a way is. Maybe that's basically mainly you, Nehari, to comment on this.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have
should I comment now, or am I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
While we are, yeah.
Okay. So let me just try to find also. So the first one was if Kosovo and Serbia can be two independent states, right? Or what was? Well, they are, I would say. I mean, they are both of them able to survive as state. They are states, both of them. The only thing is that they do not recognize one another, or mainly Serbia doesn't recognize Kosovo. And I think this is the main, this is the core of all these technical issues that we're talking about, license plates and so on. Yeah, then it comes to this recognizing or not independence of Kosovo. I don't see really a reason why not to be able to survive. Regarding is it able to survive on its own or with unification with Albania? I don't think that you need to. I don't know. I know the reason behind that. Why to get unified in order to survive? If there is, so let me just go to the question. Maybe there is a reason behind that. I guess the person is asking mainly because of army, if I understand it correctly, because it says NATO protectorate. Okay, NATO Albania. Well, when it comes to army and military, I would not comment so much that, because that's also not in our mandate. Neither, I mean, we are a civil peace service, so we don't. We are not so much involved nor informed when it comes to military. So I would refrain from making any comment when it comes to military. But when it comes to unification with Albania, I think that's a main reason, justification that was used before. Now lately, I don't hear it so much. That mainly from Serbia, I would say, or the ones that were against independence of Kosovo, so that there would be a great Albania, which I personally don't believe. I mean, and all the countries, including Albania, Serbia, Kosovo, and so on, we are all trying, hoping to be members of the EU. So as states, independent states, and I don't believe that there will be some change of borders, neither before becoming member of EU, nor especially not after you become member of the EU.
Okay, so that's the perspective. Thank you, Nehari. And the next question already makes us look into the future. It's what are the prospects for the region? How do you see things evolving? Are Kosovo and Serbia ready to compromise now or at some point in the future? So will either side be able to see we won, but we also lost? And set grounds for a long-lasting peace. So that's like the big issue. Maybe to both of you, looking ahead, what are the prospects? Nataša, maybe you start.
If our political representatives are ready and willing, I would say no. But I hope they will be kind of, faced with no choice. And I truly hope that this combination of a stick and carrot will finally lead to the signature, to something that is compromising enough for both sides to accept it. I believe that certain roads described in a previously known proposals are heading towards that direction, and I'm not confident. In many aspects, I'm not in favor of a foreign intervention, being that by military or by diplomatic efforts. But in this case, I think that the willingness of our representatives and support of our citizens is quite low, unfortunately, to finalizing this dispute, because it seems to me that we are quite accustomed to live next to each other and finding a way to avoid obstacles when cooperation is wanted and needed. and accepting them as our reality because we don't know any better. So in this case, I truly believe that it will have to become also external interest to solve this issue, to finalize this issue, and that will bring some official closure. The manipulation that this is a zero-sum game has been presented by both sides, and I only hope that once when we face solution, it will be more functional than the current setup of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thanks. Nehari, how do you see the future?
Well, I mean, just seeing now the tempo of the involvement of, again, I will mention international community, and when I say that, I again mean US special envoy. We have the EU representative and the three representatives of Germany, France, and Italy. So seeing this intensity of their visits to the region, the 5 of them were last week in Pristina, then also in Belgrade. Last night again, Lajčák, the EU representative, was in Kosovo.
There was a question, Nehari, sorry for interruption. How did the media reported about this sudden visit? What was the content of these talks? Because in our media, it was more or less a quotation of a tweet by Lajčák himself. So are there any insights from your side?
Okay, yeah, well, there were meetings, and also what we saw was pictures from a dinner that they were.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that, and then Lajčák's tweet. But we do have now from Prime Minister Kurti, and I just even opened it, where it says that, so he's referring to the meeting after last night's meeting with the special representative, means Lajčák, saying that internationals are insisting, but association is the only agreement,
stumbling stone,
agreement that did not pass the constitutional test. So I guess now the international community is, as you mentioned, stick and carrot. I think now they are visiting more often our region and trying to show how big is the stick and how big is the carrot, or what you will get and what you don't get. That's what President Vučić declared, that again, these are one of the worst days for Serbia, and this was one of the worst meetings that he had, and so on, the most difficult one, and so on. I think the same one is also, again, the same one is also on this side. From Kosovo, it seems that they are asking, they are insisting on establishing or approving the establishment of association of municipalities with Serb majority or Serb majority municipalities, which, but this is, we don't have time because this also has a chronology.
We can't open all the chapter.
Chronology, yeah.
No,
which
I would
was,
say it's a way more important topic than license plates, but who I am to judge?
Yeah, no. Well, so this is, but what I expect is that that's what also Lajčák was saying, that they are expecting, how did he say, if I'm trying to quote him correctly, is that March is a natural deadline. That's what he said. So I think from that statement of his, I believe that this year something finally should be signed, and we do have both sides having their tables in their plates the so-called Franco-German plan, which again is interpreted in different ways, but I believe that something this year, well, it is about time to have something.
we do put some hopes in this geopolitical urge and rush around us. But you never know.
But you never know.
Maybe in 10 years, we'll continue this discussion with additional details on community of Serb majority municipalities and license plates, or who knows what.
These are, I think, final words that fit very well. So it's volatile. We are really looking with some tension, but also some hope. That's what your final words, the upcoming month. Maybe we're going to have a different conversations later this year if there's so many things to happen. And yes, we all keep our fingers crossed that it will be somehow positive from your perspective. I want to say a big thank you to the two of you for explaining complicated issues and development in a really good way, from like the basics to coming to your work. And yeah, I hope that all of you who joined the discussion also like benefited from it and took away something. And for us, what is valuable at the end of such a discussion, and for more maybe to come, is of course your feedback. And I would like to invite you at the end of the discussion to use the chat again to see if you're satisfied, what you would have done differently, what would interest you in the future, if we do any further events like this. So this would be very valuable for us to receive your feedback on this and to use the chat for that. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining this discussion. Thank you again, Nataša and Nehari, for your time, your insights, and have a good night. Goodbye.
Many thanks for this opportunity, and thank you all for your kind attention and devotion of the time to these not an easy topics.
Yes, thank you. I hope we managed to clarify a bit some of the situations. If you did not understand, no worries, because even for us, living and being from here, it's complicated. We don't understand it. So thanks again for your attention. Thanks again, Christoph, also to you, and good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.